Um, what I wanted to do is just record some goals that you're probably not gonna hear a lot about. I'm sure a lot of people my age, I'm 52, or even 30 years plus, you're going to talk a lot about weight loss, and like by all means, some of you probably need that one. But if you want fitness to stick long term, this is me coming to you and saying that is not what makes people fall in love with training or with fitness long term. It can make you like it for a little bit, but eventually, I mean, you're going to reach your weight loss goal. And then what? You just stop? Like fitness never stops. It has to be a lifestyle if it's going to stick. And so, what I wanted to do today is just go over some goals that you can have that has nothing to do with weight loss. So, like for example, building relative strength. And so, like, if a lot of you haven't been strength training, if you can get your first, 1.5 times body weight deadlift or back squat, or even like your body weight. I mean, wherever. Like, find out if you're just now starting fitness, like squat your body weight, then 1.25, then 1.5, and then once you reach, I think 1.7 to 2 times body weight, unless you're trying to power lift, then you've exceeded the majority of adults that you'll ever get to meet, or simply 10 to 15 push-ups. Maybe it's 10 to 15 push-ups where you're elevated a little bit. Like wherever you're at, 20 to 30 body weight squats, a 30-second single leg balance, or get your first pull up, get your first one, hang 15 to 30 seconds above the bar. I will say this for all of you that are trying to get your first pull up by using bands. That's probably not the best way. The best way would be to like hold it, and then next thing would be to do a lowering, like an eccentric phase. If you can hold your chin above the bar 60 seconds, and then slowly lower yourself, you can do a pull up. That's just the way. That's the way I taught my boys and my daughter to do it for the first time. So, and if you can't do that, start with holding 15 to 30 seconds with your arms long. You got to get the grip strength first. You know, so those are the progressions. Number two would be improve your cardiovascular. If you want to live a long time, this should be your main concern, like improving your VO2 max. Here's a good chart for you guys. If you want to go from like, for me, I'm just trying to get to being somewhat fair, but here's some, for like me, for example, I'm the male, 50 to 59. An excellent would be 48. Minimum good would be 43. Below average is, 31 and below. So if you can get to an average minimum of 34, anywhere just improve wherever you're at. That would be where I would be that is going to be a huge focus in my own personal fitness in 2026. So, and then improve daily movement. This will help that goal. It won't, completely, you have to do more than this, but it will help. But get some daily movement, 8,000 to 10,000 steps at least per day. Master a body weight skill, master a push up, pull up, wherever you're at, pistol squats. I'm 52 and I can still do a pistol squat. So I want to get better at it, maybe even, hold weight this time and do it for 5 solid controlled reps. Um, Plank 60 to 90 seconds or a side plank. I do those almost 3 times a week. I do a regular plank, side plank. Then mobility. I recommend, especially if you're 50 and above, mobility needs to be part of your fitness journey. So whether it's touch your toes, do a full depth squat, 120 degrees of shoulder flexion, that's putting your arm above your head. Hip internal rotation. It's an important one, especially to back health. Being able to for your femur to internally rotate. And then perfect. I think if you really want to say you have great mobility, if you can perfect an overhead squat with like a PVC pipe, or even just an empty barbell, if you can do a full depth squat, maintaining a good neutral spine without doing any kind of like tail tuck at the bottom, I forget what the funny name that they have for that, but if you can just maintain a good neutral spine, your toes are, you got your toes are going out over your toes and they're in alignment with your first 2 metatarsals, your first 2 toes, then you've got great mobility. Number six, improve like balance and stability. So like a 30-second single leg balance. Once we talked about that already, or a controlled step down. Carrying something 20 to 50% of your body weight for 30 to 60 seconds. Number seven would be muscular endurance. 20 air squats unbroken, a 1 minute wall sit. Improve your 1 minute push up test. How many push ups can you do in 1 minute? I like this one: a sled pull at 100% of your body weight, or start with 50% of your body weight, wherever you're at. These are just these are just samples. You got to start wherever you're at for max distance in 2 to 5 minutes. Now I'm working at 100% plus in 5 minutes. How far can I go? Develop power. There's a lot of ways that you can mark your power, and I should all be tracking your power in some forms, because as we get older, that's another one of those longevity predictors too. Is like, as we age, it gets harder to maintain that power. But you can do it with like throwing a med ball. You can do a low impact jump, like a box jump where you step down maybe. You can even measure your power by doing I think if you I made a video several weeks ago on it, but like you can start by sitting in a chair and stand up and sit down 5 times. I say if you're 65 plus, that's where I would start. Or 60 plus, just by all it is, power is just looking at your force times velocity. So it's like how fast can you move your body weight or something that's not very heavy. Number nine, nail consistency. Hit your training plan 80% of the time. I know one of the biggest reasons I got back in shape after I graduated with my master's was this. It was saying I'm at least, at first I was at least going to train once a week. Then it was twice. Then it was three. Then it was four. And so, you know, then whatever your plan is, if it's to train 3 days a week, as long as you're hitting that 80%, over the week or over the month, boom, you're gonna be better than you were last year in 2025. So number 10, build a health span routine, like get annual blood work. Get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. That's been a big target. And I would say, once you're hitting that 7 to 9 hours, start looking at perfecting, your sleep hygiene. Like, are you going to sleep at the same time? Is it good sleep? Maybe choose a Garmin or whatever you want to do to track your sleep. Make sure you're getting a good mix of strength and cardio. That's a big one for me. Find a stress management practice. That is something I really want to work on this year. So, and I've got ideas. I would like to, start with some counseling and breathing. I've been doing breath work, but I want to get deeper into it. So, participate in an event, man. Like, I did powerlifting this past year, but I want to step outside of my comfort zone this coming year. I'm not quite sure, but I've got some things picked out, but I'm going to wait till I'm committed to doing them. But, like high rocks, for all of you people who really love endurance, that's a good one. Maybe do your first 5K, 10K, a bike race, hiking challenge, whatever. And so, improving mental fitness. I've already started on this one, but doing some, weekly, daily walking, breath work, lifting, prayer, meditation, journaling, daily reading, daily studying. I feel this. The more I continue to, feed my brain, the sharper I am. That cognitive ability will decline if you don't use it. If you don't use it, you're definitely going to lose it. That's one thing you can guarantee. So, finally, anaerobic fitness. You don't want to just improve your cardiovascular. So you don't want to just do some light jogging. You want to go hard sometimes, but improving your 500-meter row time would be a great place to start. But then improve your 500-meter times 2 to 3 sets of that. So with 90 to 120 seconds of rest, and seeing how well your body is clearing those that lactate, and it's clearing those hydrogen, um, I guess the waste you could say. But so I would look at setting one of those. Finally, improve, or you can do, if you don't have I really like the Airdyne, but the row too. But the row, if I do it too much, can start to bother my back. But the Airdyne is my favorite because I can go as hard as I want, and there's no repercussions on my back or hips. And so that would be where I would choose. and what I would do there is once again improving my ability to burn 10 to 13 calories, and then once again setting a 60 to 120 seconds of rest for 2 to 3 sets of that. And so you improve to your ability to take those weights and clear them so you can continue working out. So those are all aspects of your not only your anaerobic, but how your anaerobic and aerobic systems work together. That's what you want. So anyway, I hope that gives you a few. But the key, guys, is you can't just be about weight loss. You're gonna lose your mind. You can't just be about being jacked either. There's so many aspects of fitness, and if you set goals in each of those, you will always be like winning. And so, like just like I know in powerlifting, I feel like one of the reasons why I was so successful is I set a million goals. It wasn't just squat, bench, and deadlift. It was my 5 RM, my 3 RM, my 2 RM. It was how long I could pause a squat. It was how long I could pause a bench. I would every training cycle I would set over 100 different goals, and I knew if I broke 70% of those goals, I was probably going to win. And so I'm going to do the same thing with my fitness. I'm going to set as many as I can, always be winning, always be checking off and seeing that progress. If you're someone like me who really loves to see those daily, weekly wins, there's a million ways to set goals. And hopefully, I've given you some ideas here. But anyway, guys, masterlead.com. We got lots of new packages out there to help you get started, whether you're just an adult trying to get in shape for the first time, if you're a weightlifter, powerlifter, if you're an athlete, football player, basketball player. There's lots of good information, lots of good products out there to help you reach your goals for 2026. And if you guys are an adult and you want to like get started in my community on school, I would love to have you. That's the Master Ignite. All of that is my link in my bio. Thanks.